Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options in Play video update. Uh, as we have started to get like a greater supply of new issues coming out, like new IPOs, just a few things like came to the top of my mind that I wanted to point out. Just as more stocks become available to trade and options start to debut on these new issues. I mean, a lot of more starting to see like a lot more people focus on them, right? And uh, I guess like one of like the things that I really just wanted to stress is that on new issues more so than other stocks, it's like you have to use what's available and don't assume that just because something has gone up a lot or down a lot that it necessarily has to reverse. Okay, meaning that when a stock becomes public, there's no defined levels of support, right? There's no defined levels of resistance. The stock, like literally, sometimes only public for a couple days, maybe a couple weeks. I mean, there's really not been enough time to establish significant levels, right? Like, yeah, you might have like a quick level here and there, right? Where maybe a stock paused for like 2 days. So, like in the case of ON, which I'll get to in a second, you might have a stock where it paused like a couple days here and there, and maybe you say, okay, this seems like it's a relevant level, but whether or not it's significant, that's only something that can be determined over time, right? Like over the course of multiple days, multiple weeks, multiple months, you realize what's significant and what's not. So when it comes to trading new IPOs and new issues, it comes down to momentum and just focusing on the levels that are there, right? So like focusing on what the stock is giving. So for me, the levels are the IPO high and the IPO low, all right? And obviously like those that might get put in on the same day or it might be over like the course of a week. So just like using ON as an example, right? You had the IPO low when it came out, which was right around 35, and then 2 sessions later, it put in the IPO high, which was just a little bit above 40, so 40.80, right? So throughout the course of like the first couple weeks, you had two levels. You had the IPO low and you had the IPO high. And when one of them breaks, I'm looking for continuation. So in this case, when ON breaks, right, breaks 35, you're looking for continuation to the downside, right? It loses the IPO low. There's no established level of support. You have basically no idea where it could go. It could have gone to like, I mean, in this case, it went to the 30s or like high 20s, but it could have gone to the low 20s. It could have gone to the teens. You don't know, right? There's no well-established level. So the IPO low, once it loses it, that's more of like a bear focus, right? And then when it resets, right, starts to improve, that's when things you can start to think more bull, right? And then really like the main trade can often come like later when it finally busts above the IPO high. And that's a lot of times when you can see some really, really significant extensions, right? So when it busts back through the IPO high, which you can see in this case, it was on an earnings report, but when it finally got back through 40, it was just an epic move to the upside, right? Um, and it's not just that. I mean, there's other things, right? Like Toast, right? You can see like after like the first like month and a half of trading, what's significant? 50, right? What's significant on the upside? 65 to 66. So you have levels, right? But now that it's losing 50, you could say, oh yeah, it came like a long ways down from like the high 60s, but at the same time, like what's underneath? Like what do you have to use underneath, right? It lost 50. There's no easy levels to identify that are support. So instead of like looking to like fade weakness, like to me, like this is more of a bear setup, right? Yes, I know it's off a bunch from its recent high, but at the same time, like where is support? Where are the buyers going to come in? We don't know. Stock hasn't been public long enough to have established significant levels of support, and having lost 50, we don't know where the next leg lower is. We don't know where the next key level is going to be. So it's all about momentum, identifying what's important, and to me, it's less about like fading strength and fading weakness. It's about riding momentum. So when the stock's breaking out, I want to be more bull based, right? Bull focused. And when it's breaking down through support, I want to be more bearish. And to me, like it wouldn't be a reversal candidate until it resets above 50, right? So these are just like some of the rules I use for new issues, and I wanted to just highlight them quickly because there's a lot of new IPOs coming out. Some of them are like heavy hitters like Rivian, and you're starting to see like other big names come public. And as we do, and you see more of these new issues, and you're starting to trade them more, it's just some things to remember, right? It might save you some from getting in trouble, you know, like just trying to like continuously buy something that's breaking down, thinking like, oh, it can't keep going lower, in which case it, you know, it can, right? Because you don't know where the actual support is, and once it loses it, it could just keep grinding lower and lower and lower, and you might be stuck in something where if you just abide by your rules, you're out of it and you're waiting for a new setup, right? So that's the top of my mind. Figured I'd talk about it, and you know, hopefully we get some good action this week. Short week with the holiday on Thursday, but definitely a pretty busy lineup in earnings, so I'm hoping for some action. All right. So if you like this video and you're looking for more information about trading IPOs with options, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options to play. Have a great night. Stay well, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.